You have to introduce yourself.
My name is Melissa.
Isabel, would you like to participate?
My name is Isabel Fierros, as John said, and our Christmas is quite special this year because my 87-year-old father and his wife, my stepmother, are flying in from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and we're having a very big party on Sunday at home. We expect about 40-some guests.
Wow.
So I haven't done any shopping or anything. That will be the high point of our Christmas season.
I'm just going to try to stay on tack with my exercise and eating appropriately and just sort of try to just decompress from what's been a very active year. And basically the shopping at this point for me is presents for the grandchildren.
Yes, welcome. Good to see you here. My name is Lawrence Jonathan, but people call me Larry. Lorenzo, that's the whole same thing. Christmas is coming up, and my wife has already bought all the presents and wrapped them. I'm going to go up to Las Vegas and spend Christmas with my son, so those accommodations are already taken care of. After that Christmas, I'm driving over to Huntington Beach to visit my daughter and grandchildren and great-granddaughter that's there. The accommodations there are all taken care of. And then on the 30th, I'll be driving back to Phoenix, Arizona, and be spending New Year's Eve with friends here in Phoenix. We have a group that's been together for the past 50 years. It's a church group. It's called the Domino Mob, and we get together once a month and go out to eat and do those house and play dominoes. So that's what I'll do on New Year's Eve. Other than that, I don't have anything planned.
That sounds like a lot.
Hello, my name is Bo Hygren. I think for the next 5 days, I'll probably spend figuring out what type of Christmas gifts I'm going to buy. I've been thinking about a lot of them, but I haven't actually gone out and just started buying stuff. So I think for the next 5 days, I'll be a little busy during the evenings. So that's it.
Well, I don't believe we have any new members to vote on, although we do have a.
Greg's got his.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry. I thought you
that's okay.
started.
I passed it around, but I didn't.
You didn't talk.
I have trouble. I spend 10 years at a time never going inside a real mall. So I'm not much of a shopper. And I just have to make sure I gotta figure something out for my wife. She's already shopped for herself, probably enough in my estimation. I'll come up with something.
Tony.
Oh, Tony.
And Tony.
And my name's Greg.
I'm Tony Kakar. I have two sons who are going to visit. They are one's in San Diego, one's in Houston, so I'm looking forward to that. And busy, very busy with all kinds of things. Lights, you know, I finished the lights at the front of my house.
How's it,
Am I supposed to talk for a whole 1 minute?
No.
All right, thank you.
You're done.
10 seconds to 30
Very
seconds.
cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
now it's time
I'll
to
get it.
introduce our Toastmaster for the day, Mr. Jonathan.
Well, good morning. Sunrise. It's been a long time since I've been up here as Toastmaster. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure how I got Shanghai into this in the first place. I volunteered to help somebody out a couple of months ago, and here I am. Here I are.
Very cool.
Thank you, Mother.
The theme for today's meeting is the American dream. And I don't know why I picked that. I had to have a theme, so that just came to mind, and so that's what I picked. But what is the American dream? I grew up in Phoenix with the just get out and have fun. And so I think that is That is the essence of the American dream. It's different for everybody. Each person has their own idea of what they want to do through life, I think. And they're going to find out that also through life, things are going to change. Ideas, desires, wants. But in this country, you can be anything you want. I remember there was a motivational speaker named Zig Ziglar, and he made the statement that you can have anything you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want. And so I think that's the essence of the American dream, is to get what you want by helping other people get what they want. We have awards from last week. Actually, we have awards that we give out as a club. And the first award is the Abel. And I'm going to ask Steve
Good, not me. I always get it.
to explain the Abel to us.
The Abel is one of those awards, Isabel, that you do not want to receive. If you hear someone, usually it's me, hit a glass, that means that the person speaking said, and or we call them pregnant pauses. A lot of people do it. It's a habit you get into because you're trying to fill that space while you're thinking. Well, it just doesn't sound very good, and it doesn't flow in communicating. So we try to break every one of that habit. It's hard to do. Tony's still working on it, but he's a new member. It's also called the New Member Award. So you don't want to win this. Try real hard not to say just end the sentences. Go on to the next sentence.
Thank you, Steve. To our guest, Isabel, and our new member, there's a curse that comes with the Abel. After you've been a Toastmaster for a while, you're going to find yourself sitting in a meeting and somebody is speaking, or you're going to be watching somebody give a speech on television, and you're going to catch yourself counting odds. And you'll find out that some of these people in very important positions are lousy speakers because they have an awe with every third word that they utter. The second award is the whitewash. Now, this is usually awarded by the chief evaluator, and we don't have the chief evaluator. For some reason, they couldn't make it today. So, Roger, as I realize you're a timer, but I think you're capable of multitasking. Could you be chief evaluator along with being a
I
timer?
will. You want me to tell the duties of both jobs?
You can do that right now, and it'll save us a little time.
The timer's role is to time segment we call table topics, in which every speaker is allowed 1 minute to answer a question posed by the table topics leader. At the 1 minute mark, they get the buzzer. The scheduled speakers, how many?
Wait, did I say table topics? I'm sorry, chief evaluator is fine.
Chief evaluator.
And timer and chief evaluator.
Okay.
Who's doing the timer too?
The scheduled speakers will be, are they all set 5 to 7 minutes?
We have
Melissa and myself, I'm 5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Anybody else? Is that the new speakers?
That-
At 5 minutes, those speakers are going to get the green light. At 6 minutes, they're going to get the yellow light. At 7 minutes, they're going to get the red light. And at 7 minutes 30, they're going to get the buzzer, which means they've gone over there a long time. The chief evaluator's job, on the other hand, is to introduce the individuals who will be evaluating each of our 2 speakers, and to, following their evaluations, to critique their evaluations. Did they offer at least 2 constructive comments, constructive criticisms? If they did not, they win the whitewash brush because they did a whitewash job on their evaluation. And I will also give an overall evaluation of the meeting and how Larry, our senior-most Toastmaster, has done his Toastmaster of the day.
one of of the most sought after awards.
Sought after.
Is the Born Badge. It says ours is here. Greg, can you tell us what the Bowman is all about?
Sure. Isabel, we award this to somebody who makes a faux pas. A little misstep some way. We have one member who usually glories in doing something really stupid and calling down attention to himself. When he comes back, he's taking a little hiatus at the moment. But anyway, most of us don't want to win this, but some of us like awarding it to others just to poke fun.
Thank you, Greg. Many years ago, as a matter of fact, it was in the last century, I was on a plane flying from Mexico City down to Oaxaca, and the lady sitting next to me was the first female member of this club, Nancy Dines. And Nancy Dines came up with this award. It's called the Hot Air Award, and it is awarded to that Toastmaster that can't shut up. They just go on and on and on and on. And so, since Nancy is no longer with us, I will be the one that introduces the Hot Air Award. I'm not hot air. Yeah, the hot air. You have to excuse me now. Not only was that, I was born in the last century too. So I have senior moments every now and then. The blah bell. Hey, can you explain the blah bell?
Absolutely, I can. The Blah Bell is another negative award, and it can be awarded to a person or a group of people, i.e. no shows, but it can also be awarded to an inanimate or animate object, the car alarm in the parking lot, the knife fight in the kitchen. What it means is anything that brings the meeting down, throws it off its course. It's a negative award, and it helps us keep in mind our performance as well as the tone of the meeting. You don't want to win.
We have some functionaries that I would like to introduce at this time. The first one is the video operator. Tony, can you tell us what you're doing with your equipment?
Well, I'm using one of my iPhones to make a video. They're great videos, and they're very easy to put on Facebook, but I put it on with a password, so only us can see it. And then I also cut it off. I've got some initial, the light is going crazy, so I'm gonna edit it a little bit. And it's very easy to do. It just doesn't take any time.
All right, thank you. Our next functionary is a timer, but Roger has already taken care of that for us. So next is a joke master. Our joke master didn't show up. Okay.
And I have a joke.
Wonderful.
A burglar breaks into this house late at night, and he's going through the dark, and a voice says, "Jesus is watching you," and he's startled, and he turns around, and he sees a parrot. And he says to the parrot, "Did you just say Jesus is watching me?" The parrot says, "Yes." The guy relaxes, and he says to the parrot, "What's your name?" The parrot says, "My name is Clarence." And the burglar says, "That's a really stupid name for a parrot. Who's the idiot that named you Clarence?" And the parrot says, "The same idiot that named the Rottweiler Jesus."
All right. Grammarian, Boo, you got a word for us, and tell us your duties.
My duties are basically, I'll be counting that from the, I'm counting those, correct?
Yes,
Mary?
absolutely.
I'm on 4 for that, so I'm going to keep track of myself especially, because I've known to win the award. And I'll be keeping track of the ums and the ahs and the fragment pauses and any sentence structures that were a little off. So, and the word of the day is, I'm having a hard time saying it, so someone might have to help me.
Impecuniousness.
Wow. Yeah, so poverty. I felt like it was a proper word to use with the American dream.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Okay, now we come to that part of the meeting that everybody looks forward to. Table topics. And here to bring us that part of the time when you're going to stand up here for 1 long minute or 60 short seconds, depending on the subject that our table topics master gives us. And Kate, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. What a depth of topic. What a rich, rich topic, the American dream. And then our Toastmaster emailed me and said, your table topics, and here's my theme. I thought about it a lot and came up with a variety of questions, which I hope will draw out of you some of your thoughts about the American dream. You also need to remember in your 1-minute table topics, you need to use the word of the day to be eligible for best table topics. And Isabel, you can take a listen to what we're all doing, and then at the end, I'll ask if you want to participate. But it's your choice. You may want to sit this one up. Our 2 speakers, do you care to be eligible?
I do not want to be eligible.
Okay. So I'm going to,
Probably not, because I don't think I can say the word.
okay, so no to Steve and Melissa. So let me start with Mr. Shaw. Freedom. What does that word mean to you?
At this stage in my life, freedom mostly means to me, the most important part is freedom of thought and freedom of expression, and that the free exchange of ideas is what I think of when I think of freedom. Living essentially in the United States all of my life, I've never been subject to anything other than freedom in terms of a physical sense. But I do worry a little bit about whether we are maintaining our freedom to express opposing views and even the freedom to allow people to have different points of view and engage in real debate that is sincerely directed toward resolving an issue. I mean, that's what I think of when you ask me about freedom. And one of the major problems in our society is that a large percentage of our population is impecunious, or something like that. And that's it.
Okay, let me call on Greg. Having enjoyed your speeches in the past, so many of them, which were such great speeches, this seemed like the perfect question for you. Select your greatest American president and talk about his vision of the American dream, using the word of the day.
Abraham Lincoln was born in an impecunious state in the state of Illinois. He worked real hard. He chopped wood. His recreation was wrestling. He was 6'4", slender but very strong. And he was a very skilled attorney and courtroom litigator. And he studied people, and he studied phrases, and he studied human nature, and he learned the human heart. He understood what it meant to have dignity, and he wanted to give dignity to those that had none. and he withstood unbelievable amount of problems before he was president, troubled personal life, losing elections, lots of trouble, and then he withstood great adversity as he allowed thousands upon thousands of his fellow citizens to give their life for a principle that he firmly believed in, which was hard to do.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to call on Carney. All men are created equal. What does that phrase mean to you?
All men are actually not created equal when we look at the reality of life today. There's so much impecuniousness around the world that there is not equality. We have a privilege in this country of experiencing equality. However, when you look at the rest of the world and you look at the difference of what we have and what they do not have, it's hard to find it to actually be a world that's equal.
You've got 20 more seconds.
Actually, 20.
20 more. Yeah, I do, yeah. New
It was a fine finale, but you gotta keep going.
New member
I
issue.
wonder if this lady wins best table topics.
Anything else to say? However, it's a privilege to be born in America as a woman, because as a woman, the opportunities that we have, we would not experience in most other countries in the world, the way we do here. And
I think Roger suspended your minute for the while.
It's a
2 seconds.
kind of a rotary inside joke that he's going to be messing around with you. That was a long 1 minute. And it's interesting with table topics, it's about that the 1 minute can seem like an eternity, and 1 minute can be, you barely got your first few words out. So it gives us a sense of managing time, coming to a point, and reaching a conclusion. Again, with this topic, it's a toughie. Larry, Mr. Toastmaster, what, in your opinion, is the greatest American ideal?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. The greatest American ideal. I am at a loss to think of. I guess it's because I am pecunious. I can't say it. But the greatest American ideal, okay, is to help other people, I think. But not in the sense of giving them something, but in taking them by the hand and showing them the opportunity that we have being Americans. This has been called the Great Experiment. It's been going on for 230 some years now, and up until the past 50 years, it's been pretty well uphill. Now it's leveled off, and it's getting pretty shaky. But if you look around, you'll see people that came here and were very successful. I remember when Saigon fell and a lot of the Vietnamese boat people came to the United States. Within one generation, they were prosperous because they came here, they saw opportunity, and they worked, and they produced.
Thank you. Roger. 3 choices. Hotel California, Death of a Salesman, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. All of these reflect a downside in the American dream. Pick one of them and talk about what that might mean to you.
I would pick Death of a Salesman, which is a play about a salesman who is reaching a point where he can no longer hold it together. He's a classic salesman. He's in a car all day driving out and selling small amounts of merchandise at various locations. he's not impecunious yet, but he's headed in that direction because his life is kind of a culmination of failure. But at the same time, it inspires, I think, the audience to think about the upside and the fact that his failure is, in many respects, a result of bad choices. And if you make good choices, then you have some opportunity for success and the American dream, which is to achieve personal success in your life, not necessarily economic success, but that may be your goal, or it may be other forms, but to achieve success. And that's where I think the play inspires.
Not to influence any voting, but ladies and gentlemen, that was textbook. That's how you do table topics.
Yeah, he's a vote counter. I mean, what?
Yeah.
He cannot.
He's gonna win
He
anyway.
was gonna win anyway.
Doesn't like to lose.
We've heard some excellent table topics. We're not done yet.
I've been an auditor sitting next to me.
Whoa. What is American exceptionalism? Have you heard the phrase, and what does it mean to you?
I actually haven't heard the phrase, but I'm just gonna interpret what it does mean. I'm assuming it means being the best that you can be to make things happen and to really try to live up to what the American dream means. And I guess coming from a indigenous background, I can totally relate to what the American dream means to me personally. I think it's I guess I didn't really like I guess
What does it mean to you?
I think it means it just means do your best and good things will happen for you. Just have a good attitude and just have a good outlook, because when you come from a different background of not having a lot, I guess you just gotta be very thankful for the things that you do have and get. Thank you.
I was very interested to hear your answer, and it fits because you bring that attitude to our meetings, which is where I see you every single time, and I love it. So thank you very much. Tony,
That's your service.
is our country better than any other country in the world? Why or why not?
It is. It's the best country in the world. And, you know, I was 20 years old when I came here. And the impecuniousness in India is amazing. If you watch that movie, Slumdog Millionaire, and all those huts and the high rises in Bombay, and there are really a lot of people, and it is a poor country. And then I came here on my PhD, one of my degrees, and I'm just amazed and jealous that anybody here, anyone could do very well here. All they had to do is work hard, and it was laid out. I mean, there's so many opportunities. Remember, the kids today in America say that they don't have the opportunity or that sort of stuff like that. They're not even thinking. They just have to. I think everybody in America should go out and take a tour around the world, something like India. Your eyes will get so bright. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, would you like to try, or? Sure. Wonderful. Define you stand up, and you are welcome to use the word of the day. Don't worry about it. Define the American dream in your terms.
I think the American dream is what, in a way, brings us all together, because I think it's predicated on the knowledge that if we try hard and we do our best, we could rise from impecunious backgrounds or backgrounds of bondage or whatever bad circumstance brought us to this country. And we know that by means of working hard and being kind to other people, hopefully, etc., we can at least achieve the comfortable and extensive middle class that adorns our country. That's the one thing about the United States. There's this great middle class that you don't see in other countries of great contrasts.
Right.
And I think our job is to keep it that way.
There you have a wonderful walk through people's vision or people's understanding or interpretation of the American dream. If you would please vote for best table topics. May I ask the grammarian who used the word of the day?
Everyone used the word of the day at some level.
So everybody
pronounce
is
it or
out.
they know why.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian, and now I'm gonna turn the meeting back over.
Thank you, Kate.
Please vote.
The various words that came up and things started running through my head. Freedom.
Good job.
Only in America do people, at least in times past, have the freedom to be what they really want. Sikorsky came here because he couldn't work and invent his helicopter in Russia, so he came here. Nikolai Tesla came here from Yugoslavia, and Nikolai Tesla gave us not electricity, but alternate electricity. If it had been left up to Edison, he wanted to electrify us with direct current, which would have been a nightmare.
Oh, half of us wouldn't be here. We would have electrocuted ourselves as children.
Will be shockingly.
But it was America where people could come and be themselves and create and be creative. And I appreciate what Tony had said, because I have lived I've been in the Philippines, I've been in China, I've been in Thailand, I've been in Singapore. I've seen places, countries where people get up at the crack of dawn. I mean, early in the morning, they're out on the street selling their ware, doing something to make enough to live on that day. And at night, they roll their mat out under the awning of a store downtown and sleep there because it's the only place that can keep out of the rain. So people that are born and grow up in this country don't really know how well they have. Well, enough of that. Thank you, Kate. Those were great table talks. Now, Mr. Chief Evaluator, we have an evaluator here for Steve's speech. That'll be Greg, but we need a volunteer to be an evaluator for Melissa. Tony says that he will do it. Okay, Tony will be the evaluator for Melissa.
I just have a question.
Who's evaluating? Greg's evaluating Steve.
Steve's
Are you
speech.
also doing bulletin?
I'm doing bulletin too.
You can evaluate Steve.
This videos will help a lot. I got the whole bulletin right
You
on.
can evaluate Steve.
Oh, okay, so you're okay with doing
Or his
bulletin?
speech, or both.
All right, we have that settled. And you've already given us the duties of the chief evaluator, so we'll proceed on into the speaking portion of the meeting. So our first speaker this morning is Steve Wright. Steve has been a member since God made the earth. Since 1976. And time flies when you're a slow learner. Now, although Steve is slow at times at some things, he's not afraid to try new things. So help me welcome Steve as he presents a recipe from the palate.
From the pot?
Recipe from the what?
pallet. It probably doesn't make any sense, but who cares? Good morning, fellow toastmasters and our guest Isabel. It's good to be here before you. A recipe. No, I'm not going to talk about making a fruitcake this time of year. One of our members years ago, Larry will remember, Greg remembers, hated fruitcakes, brought a fruitcake, was hard as a brick. She threw it on the ground. It was a hilarious speech, but I'm not here to talk about a fruitcake. When my wife and I moved into our new home last April, we ran into a problem once we got all our furniture moved in. The problem was, behind the TV, there's a little wall, a niche behind the TV, and we could not figure out what would look good around the TV. At first, we bought a long horizontal painting, hung it on the wall. That did not work. That was ugly, so that painting ended up in our bedroom. Go figure. So one day, while we were having our pool put in, they bring in all this, we had travertine decking put on around the pool. And in comes all these pallets of travertine. And my wife says, you know what, we could use the wood from those pallets. And I was like, use the wood for what? We have a gas fireplace, we don't need any wood to burn fire. She said, no, I saw this picture on the internet, because she surfs the internet a lot, shopping, Christmas shopping. And she says, and I saw this really cool wall, and they use wood, like pallet wood, and we can do this. And really? So she showed me the picture. It's like, wow, okay. So I told the landscaper, leave the pallets. I'm going to tear them down. So the first job, of course, is tearing pallets. Now this is not an easy job, believe it or not, because you don't want to break the boards and snap the boards, so you're trying to pull them apart, and they use nails that got these little ridges on it, so it's not the easiest nail to pry out of a board. So I'm pulling all these boards. Well, I measured that one little niche based on the size of the boards, figured out that I needed 100 boards to just do this little niche. And I'm thinking, oh, I gotta pull the pallets and end up with 100 boards. And then I have to, once I pull all the boards apart, I gotta pull all the nails out of the boards, of 100 boards. Well, I did that. I spaced myself over several weeks. And we wanted the rugged look. So I highly recommend, if you're going to attempt this, which I highly suggest you should because it's fun, wear gloves, because pallet wood is not sand. There are splinters everywhere, and you'd end up digging splinters out of your body the rest of your life if you don't wear gloves. So I got all the nails pulled out. Well, as you can tell, every board is a different width, depending on the pallet and the make of the pallet. So next we had to sort through the pallets. And we put all the same widths in. Well, we ended up, there was 5 different widths of boards. Well, when you're doing a row of board, they need to be all the same width. But if you're after a multicolored wall, you're going to paint them different colors. So what's the solution? Well, for me, being a graphic designer, it was, I'll just pick a few boards here, kind of like putting salt on the rest, just a pinch of salt. I didn't count them out and do some big math formula. I just say, okay, I'm going to pick these. These are going to be the blonde ones. Most of the boards we want to be kind of brown. Well, we talked about what do we want to do color-wise. We decided we're going to do 4 shades of stain. This is the darkest, a dark walnut. Then the next lightest, and the next lightest, and I didn't bring the very lightest, which was almost a pine, a blonde color. And so I had to pick out, with 4 colors, I had to pick out basically each width of board. I had to separate pretty much in approximately 4 colors. Except I didn't want as many blonde ones. We wanted the wall to be mostly dark. So that's what I did. Stained them. Didn't stain the back side, no need to. It's up against the wall, just around the edges. Next thing we did was painted the wall. We painted it a dark brown. Get that right here. We painted it a dark brown. because with pallet wood, none of it is perfectly straight. They're bowed, they're missing chips of corners, and so we wanted it to be dark behind there so you wouldn't see this white wall coming out between the boards. So we took a dark brown and we painted it. We left the bracket for the TV on because I didn't want to put the bracket over the boards. And so we did that. Well, once I had all the boards stained the way I wanted, I had to lay it out. So I laid it out in the courtyard, putting all the rows and how I wanted to mix up all the colors. Like a big puzzle. I didn't want to be doing it while I'm working on the wall. That would have been a fiasco. So I laid it all out. And the good thing about laying it out ahead of time is I could measure it and see, make sure I had enough boards. If I didn't, I would have had to pull a few more pallets apart and do a little more painting. Plus, once I started the wall, my wife could grab the boards and bring them to me, and I didn't have to do much thinking after that. So this is the wall. Started at the bottom, headed halfway up. Fortunately, I had an air gun and a chop saw, so I could chop the boards each row as I needed. Air gun, I found there were 4 studs, which was great. So I just nailed these boards to the wall and just made my way up the wall, staggering them, making sure I could get at least nails into two of the studs. Otherwise, I would have had to glue it. Got all finished. It looks beautiful. And this is how it turned out. And how it's now today with some Christmas decorations around it. So instead of having this big blank wall around the TV and not being able to figure out what do we put around it, little pictures or long pictures, big what do we do?
Awesome.
So we did a multi-palette colored wall. First time I've ever done it. And I would highly suggest, living in this country where dreams are possible, grab a bunch of old pallets and make the wall come alive.
Thank you, Steve. This one's your too, also.
Nope, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was interesting. You know, that's one of the things about growing up in America.
Yeah.
When you're free to do what you want to do, so to speak. My wife, I overhear her complain. He's always got some project going on. But that's the fun. My first radio was a crystal set that I built from scratch. The only thing I bought were the earphones. I wound the coil on a toilet paper roll. I went out in the desert and found some quartz out there and broke off a chunk of quartz, melted a lead sinker, fishing sinker, and made a little mold, poured the lead in there and stuck a little chunk of quartz in it. That was my crystal. My father used to say, I'd go to bed at night listening to my crystal say, you gotta get that thing wrapped around your neck and choke yourself. But there's a lot of satisfaction in doing something like Steve did. There he can step back and say, look at that wall, and I did that. And that is part of the American dream. Well, our next speaker is Melissa. And Melissa says that over the weekend, Melissa took a road trip to San Diego, and fortunately, this trip went off without any hiccups. But past trips have not gone so smoothly. So today she will tell us about one in particular in her speech titled, "Oh GPS, where are you?" help me welcome Melissa.
Good morning. So over the weekend, I went to San Diego, and my car fortunately has GPS. So I just I'm not familiar with San Diego very much, so I just punched in my friend's address and listened to the car as the car told me to take which highway and to turn left here and to turn right here. And I was able to make it to my friend's house without incident. And Saturday morning when I was ready to go home, I put back in Phoenix and 85008, and I was able to find my way out of San Diego without incident. So fortunately for me, I had that little GPS. Well, the ease with which I had this trip kind of contrasted to a trip that I took back in 2007. And it kind of made me think of how different these were. So back in 2007, I was going to visit a friend from college, and she lived up in Farmington, New Mexico, which is up in the Four Corners of New Mexico. And what should have been a very easy trip turned out to be a little bit problematic. And it was compounded by a couple of issues that I have. One, I have no sense of direction, just absolutely none. Two, when I'm on my road trips, I really don't have the greatest of time management. And three, which unbeknown to me before this trip, apparently I am the stereotypical drug mule. Go figure. So first, I have no sense of direction. I grew up, just to give you a couple of ideas as to how directionally challenged I really am. I grew up in the same small town since I was in the 5th grade. I remember my senior year driving somewhere thinking, where the hell am I? Completely lost in the same small town that I had lived for 7 years. A couple years ago, another incident, a couple years ago, I had gone on vacation with a friend to Boston, and I told my friend, follow me, I know how to get back to the hotel. 45 minutes we walked in the wrong direction. I don't know why she listened to me. I blame her. Never mind the fact that I knew from the map that we were supposed to be going southeast, and this is about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And in retrospect, needing to go southeast on the map, and we walked 45 minutes into the sun. Little lesson learned. So on this particular trip back in 2007, I knew enough to know that I was going to get on I-17 and go north. And eventually I was going to turn right. Beyond that, I didn't really have my plan scheduled. I didn't have my route scheduled. And this was pre-GPS for me. It was the iPod. It was pre-smartphone. So I threw my little trusty atlas book in the car and off I went. Number two, I have no concept. I have poor management of time. So on this particular trip, I thought, ideally looking at it, if you are going to go to Farmington, you should go 7 hours, or it should have been about a 7-hour trip. To I-17 north, you're going to hit the I-40 east, and then you're going to hit the New Mexico route 491, go north up to Shiprock, and then hang a right. That's all you have to do in retrospect. So I'm heading I-17 north, and I thought, hey, Prescott's somewhere north. I've got friends there. So I took a little detour to go visit some friends. In retrospect, I could have gone to Prescott, visited my friends, and then got back onto the I-17 north. I did not do that. I took the scenic route. So instead of a 7-hour trip, I went up through the mountainous street through Jerome, and beyond that, I don't know where exactly else I went. But my 7-hour trip took 14 hours. I had told my friend that I would be there in time for dinner. About 10:30, I finally showed up in Farmington. And the third incident that happened on this particular trip was, again, driving, trying to get there in time for dinner, about 10 o'clock at night. I was speeding, and the New Mexico State Trooper was kind enough to pull me over to point that out to me. And apparently, I'm ideal stereotype for a drug mule, for carrying drugs, because I don't look like a drug mule. I'm a single, and I'm a female. And I was driving in an average-looking car, not too flashy, not too dilapidated, that it brought any attention to it. So the police officer asked if he could search my car. 10 o'clock at night on this highway, what am I going to do? Tell him no? Then I'd have to wait for the tow truck and have them come and have everybody come search. And I said, yeah, go right ahead. So there I am, freezing cold, 10 o'clock at night, standing off to the side of the road, texting my friend, letting her know where I am, as this cop was kind enough to search my car. And as he was looking through my bag, again, this was pre-iPod, and so I had brought a plethora of CDs, so I had a variety of music to listen to as I was driving. And one in particular caught his attention, and he pulls it out, and this was about the Rock of Love time on VH1 with Bret Michaels, and he pulls out my CD that was the Poison, Bret Michaels' Poison 20-year greatest hits album, and he excitedly waves it in my hand and goes, "Hey, do you watch Rock of Love?" And I'm thinking, are you searching my car for drugs? Or are you hitting on me? And so no, I'm not really. So then he goes to the back seat of the car, and in the back seat, I always carry stuffed animals for my nieces and nephews so that they have something to play with while we're driving places. And in that particular trip, I had Tigger. And I watched him search my Tigger, and I felt my Tigger was very violated. My Tigger should have got dinner out of it. So after he violated my Tigger, he goes to the trunk of the car. And in the trunk, I have to admit that I go shopping, and I would get all the plastic bags, and I don't like to just throw them away, so I would put them in the trunk of the car so that when I went to the grocery store, you could put them in the recycle bins. Well, it's been a while since I remember to put them in the recycle bin, so I kept dumping them in the back of the plastic bag in the trunk. And so there's this huge, huge plastic bag. And this guy, he's so ecstatic, he's looking at it and he's thinking, all right. And he starts pulling them out, and he's looking for these drugs. And he was so disappointed to find that there was nothing. And about midway through, he goes, "Hey, you shop at Macy's a lot." So needless to say, he was very, very disappointed when he couldn't find any drugs. So he let me go. So how can GPS have saved me? One, directionally challenged. If I had just had the directions, I could have had GPS, I could have put them in the directions, and I would have had a way to go instead of north and then right. Two, I don't know about you, but when I put the address in GPS and it gives me my time, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna beat that. And three, what happened, why the officer was concerned that I was a drug mule, was he asked me some questions. He said, "Where are you coming from?" I said, "Phoenix." He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Farmington." He said, "We're at in Farmington." In retrospect, what I should have said was, my friend texts me, I text my friend when I'm in the vicinity, she calls me and gives me directions, but because I didn't have the directions as to where I was gonna go, that's why he thought that I was the drug mule. So, had I had GPS all those years ago, I would not have been searched and my Tigger would not have been violated.
Thank you, Melissa. The GPS it's a wonderful invention. And I don't know who came up with the program for that. But there is one annoying thing about it. Well, there's two annoying things. First of all, it doesn't give you a complete route. It just takes you from here to here to here, and you don't know where the hell you're going. You've got to rely on that GPS. And the most irritating thing is that if you miss a turn, that little voice says, "Recalculate, recalculate."
Yeah.
But they're great devices. I just, I'm just going from my crystal set that I made when I was about 12 years old to my Garmin GPS is wonderful. It's just, I have seen such wonderful things, and the young people today, I can't imagine the wonderful things that they're going to see. Well, we only had two speakers that showed up. I didn't bother to find an impromptu speaker. I think we'll go right on into the evaluation portion of the meeting. So,
You want timers report first?
oh yes, that's a good idea. Have a timer's report.
Steve spoke for 7 minutes, 20 seconds. Melissa spoke for 8 minutes, 3 seconds. I'm gonna make an executive decision that she's still eligible to win the Best Speaker Award. She's also eligible to win the Hot Air Award.
Okay. All right.
And on that note, I will come up and introduce you to
Vote for your choice of best speaker, and I will turn control of the lecture over to our drafted Chief Evaluator, Roger.
Thank you, Larry.
You counting? You counting in here or there?
Two fun and interesting speeches.
Yeah.
To evaluate Steve's presentation, please welcome Greg Robinson to the mic.
Thank you, sir. Steve, you did lots of things really well. First of all, it was a classic greeting of the audience. He greeted everybody, he greeted our guest, Isabel. Really nice job to let everybody know that you're in charge, you're speaking, and they're recognized. Second, you dressed to get the attention as somebody that we ought to pay attention to. Stand up, Steve. Look at the Christmas tie. I've never seen a better Christmas tie.
Jerry Garcia.
Very cool.
And Steve sometimes just wears the golf shirts here because he's quite a golfer. But today he dressed very nicely so that we could understand him and give him the due respect that he needed. He took charge of what he was doing. He let us know pretty quickly where he was going. It was a demonstration speech. And he snuck in first and put these boards here so nobody even noticed they were there until he pulled them out. And so then he proceeded to talk about how this came about, and he had a good chronology by virtue of the pictures that carried through what he was doing, so that from stem to stern we knew where he was going to go, because he had to fill this little niche area behind the TV. So we knew what the project was going to be. He used good time management to get from here to there in doing that, and so he had 10 seconds to spare without much overtime. So that was good. There's not much I can criticize in the way of what he did. One of the things I thought was funny, he says, and that looks beautiful. And let us be the judges, see? I mean, I think it might look like...
That's what my wife told me, so I
Okay.
always
Yeah,
remember what she says.
Yeah, she's always right.
His gestures were natural. You could see him hammering, you could see him sawing, you could see him doing a lot of things. I would suggest that the demonstration where you fumbled a little bit for the pictures, it was only one little faux pas there, but otherwise the idea of carrying them around so that you slowly did it so that everybody could see well enough to say, yeah, I got it. I think those things are good. So my little critiques are kind of puny today, and that is the photos and what was
the prompts?
yes,
Telling us what to think.
right. And
You're just trying to come up with two.
no, I came up with two. But at any rate, I would have liked to seen a little bit of humor in it, because you have a good sense of humor. You didn't stick that much into it this time, and you had plenty of opportunities to talk about how you screwed it up and it didn't quite work out so well, or you...
Well, if I knew I could go overtime and still be eligible. Who made Roger in charge anyway? That's what
Thank you, Steve. The one big flaw in your speech was that when the question came up, what do we do with this space? You should have held out for a larger TV.
we did consider. We've been shopping for 70-inch TVs, and it's like, no, we got all this wood. I'll just go ahead.
To evaluate Melissa's presentation, please welcome Tony Kakar to the lectern.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you very much. Hello. Yes. Isabel? Yes. Very nice. And fellow Toastmasters. The queen has what have you heard of the mushrooms in her back? That give you hallucination.
Hallucinogenics.
Okay, good. I say it again? Hallucinogenics. So let's say that everybody's talking about it. Last night I think she likes to see her hands. They found these mushrooms bred in her backyard. It's a big backyard, I'm sure. Anyway, Melissa, you were awesome, as always. Very hard to criticize something that's so pleasant. Great hand gestures. And eye contact was very good. Story was good. You even have a little humor in there with the drug thing, the drug mule thing. So that was very good. And I liked every bit of it. There was a pause. There were a couple pauses where you start with the and then you kind of looked around. But there was very little. I would not even mention it. And you said the GPS, you know, an older trip, you would not have a GPS. An older trip. A newer trip, San Diego trip, yes, you will have a GPS. So the GPS is important, but I think, again, the purpose of your talk was not real clear to me up front. I just like to say, I want to know right away up front, I'm going to try to give you this 10-15 minutes of talk where you're going to get something more out of it. You'll know a little more than last time. It was good, but there was a little bit of loss. So that's my number 2. This is very hard to do. Thank you.
A couple of observations. First, with respect to Steve's presentation, I think we could all benefit from reflecting on how Steve handled the props. That's one of the most difficult things for somebody to do in giving a speech. And he'd obviously practiced, he had planned out how he was going to have the wood available, so he wasn't cluttering, stumbling up here with it. He had his pictures well organized and had thought out how he was going to show these relatively small pictures to everybody in the room without having a big board with huge blow-ups behind him. And that's something that we can all benefit from. Melissa, great use of humor. I'm wondering if I listen to your speech, and I'm thinking about the trip from Prescott to Flagstaff, that leg of the trip. There are a lot of wineries along the way, and I was wondering the time it took you. But anyway, very good use of humor. It made for a very enjoyable presentation. Good meeting. Good meeting. Larry, it's great to have, now sit down, number 3. It's good to have you back, active in Toastmasters again. I always enjoy your speeches, and I always enjoy your meeting themes. And so I'm glad to do that again. Kate, masterful table topics presentation. Thank you very much. Please, if you have not already cast your ballot for the best evaluator and the best speaker, please get those ballots passed around to the timer station. But overall, a good meeting. Isabel, so glad to have you with us. I hope you'll plan on coming back, and thank you for participating in table topics. It was good to hear your views. On that note, I'm going to have the meeting back to Larry.
Thank you, Roger.
Well, I'm not aware of the Weight Watch.
Thank you. Well, you know, Steve, that was a great project, and did you get a lot of self-satisfaction after it was all finished and you stood back and looked at it?
Absolutely. It turned out the way we envisioned it to turn out, and that's what really makes it. Because at first we were thinking, well, maybe we'll use like a steel blue and then maybe a red stain and be more colorful. But we thought, no, it's going to be too busy against the fireplace. So we kind of subdued it a little bit with close tones of browns, and so it came out just perfect. So in our mind, it was perfect. Of course.
Well, that's another great thing, I think, with our, at least with my part of the world, is do it yourself. You get a project and you go out and you work hard on it, and when you finish, you can really be proud of what you've done. But sometimes a project can become a monster. we bought our present home that was back in a cul-de-sac and it was dark back there. And I talked to the guy across the street. We were thinking about getting a street light out front, but we didn't really want that. So we decided we'd put lights on the house and had them controlled by a dusk to dawn switch. When it gets dark, the lights come on, and when the sun comes up, the lights go out. But while I was pulling wires in for those, my wife loves to decorate for Christmas. And it's always a pain in the string drop cords all over the place for all these lights. And so while I'm up here, I'm going to go ahead and pull some wires in for the holiday lights. So I've got receptacles on each corner of the house. One in the center of the house is for. And I thought, I hate to drag the darn cords across to the trees out there, so I dug a trench and put some conduit in the ground and I pulled wires underneath. So I have a receptacle on each tree that's tied in with the holiday lights. And so now there's no cords out there. And then I built a control panel. And I wired all the holiday lights and the security lights into this control panel. And it's all set up now with a timer. So when it gets dark, the security lights come on. And the timer says it's time for the holiday lights. It flips a switch, the holiday lights come on, but that also trips a relay that turns out the security lights. So the security lights go out, the holiday lights come on, and then at 11:30, the relay is released, the holiday lights go out, and the security lights go. It's a neat thing. But you know, you get into a project like that, and one thing leads to the next, to the next, to the next, and it becomes a monster.
That's the American dream.
I might add too, our timing light, we're the only club that has one like that, and Larry put that together for us. So it's our thanks to Larry that we have such a nice timing light. A lot of other Toastmaster clubs, they'll just hold up a card, a green card or yellow card, but we got the fancy model because of Larry.
No, that was, how long has it been?
A long
About
time.
18 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
This is
Well-
beyond the warranty.
I was cleaning out some of my stuff the other day, and I found the drawing that I made for that circuit. So I was thinking, I should take this down and give it to the guys at the club in case they ever have to work on this light.
We'll just call you.
All right, where am I here? Okay, chief evaluator's finished. I have to make my closing remark. It has been fun being back. I don't know how many times I've got up on a Tuesday morning and thought, you know, I should get back down to sunrise. So a lot of times, you know, it's early in the morning and you think, it's warm in bed, I don't want to get up. But I get up and come down here, and I'm always glad that I did. You know, you're all a great bunch of people to associate with, and I thoroughly enjoy this. And I think maybe I will get back into it and get over my study. You know, when you don't do anything for a while, you lose your edge, and you don't have the speaking things. So I'm going to get back into it. Now, for those that don't know, I'm 81, and
Wow.
it's sometimes I have a little problem. It's funny. Names, I have a terrible time remembering. Numbers I can remember.
Just give us numbers.
Yeah. Everybody should
Just give us all a number and call us a number.
Everybody should have a number. I can remember numbers. I enlisted in the Marine Corps in January 1952. All right, my service number was 1284273.
Wow.
And I amaze them at the bank. I'll go down to the bank and I'll say, okay, I need some money. And she say, okay, how much? I say, oh, there's $300. That's all. What's your account? You need to this down. 956-504-4141. Okay, it was that account. It's just the numbers stick, but names I have trouble with. So if now I remember Isabel, and Carney, and I work on it, but you know, like I say, I get back into things, and it's just something I'm really looking forward to. So, with that, I'm gonna turn control of the meeting back to our president. Oh, what's your name again?
Number 8.
President Pro Tem.
Steve's speech inspired me. My wife claims that we can build a fire pit in our backyard, and I've come up with a million excuses. If it's successful, you'll hear about it. If not, then you'll
We should hear about it
again.
more if it is.
Thank you. Well, can you give us the grammarian report and award the Abel if appropriate?
I enjoyed being the grammarian. I didn't think that Steve's job is really difficult most of the time, and I admire him for being the grammarian most of the time. So I really did my best for catchphrases or in grammatical errors that I had trouble doing, but I was really good at counting the A's. So, and I came in first place by a landslide. Tony was second, and yep. So that's my report.
Okay, so you awarded yourself the Abel then. Okay. Now it's time to request nominations, beginning with the Enthusiasm Award. Do we have a nomination for the Enthusiasm Award? Kate?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I nominate Ms. Bell for participating both in the warm-up and the table topics and pronouncing the word of the day better than any of us.
Do we have any other nominations? All right, Ms. Bell, you get the Enthusiasm Award. The Hot Air Award, is there any nominations for the Hot Air Award?
Melissa.
I'm going to make a dual nomination of Melissa for running overtime and Greg for a really windy evaluation.
I thought he was spot on.
Any other nominations?
I'd like to just narrow it up to Melissa.
Yeah.
Greg out of it.
Okay.
Melissa alone.
All right. How many votes do we have for Melissa alone?
Oh my gosh.
Mercy, it was narrow.
How many votes for a joint award?
Joint sounds pretty good. Joint sounds pretty good.
Share
It's
the
close,
blame.
but it's a joint award.
That's right.
Yeah.
So congratulations,
It's like
Melissa and Greg, for the Hot Air Award.
It's the first time we've ever won together.
That's
Remember,
that's the first time for everything.
The next award is the Best Functionary Award, the nominations for that. Greg?
I nominate Larry. He came with a theme, he carried it out, he had interesting, fun things to tell us.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations? Larry, congratulations. And the Boner Badge. Any nominations for the Boner Badge?
Why, yes.
Well, yes.
Uh-oh.
It's a
The very
payback.
first table topics.
Payback. Payback.
I had to fire our timer because he was already messing up.
So you're nominating Ryder?
Heck yeah.
That's awesome.
Any other nominations?
8-minute table talk.
She's my assistant for the entire meeting and then turns on me.
Just think of
I was
politics.
so intrigued by the speakers.
Well, Roger, that's an unusual event, but apparently you've won the Boner Badge.
Pass that down. We need to get the feel.
Hold on to it. Hold on to it.
Okay, then the last award is the Blob Bell. Any nominations for the Blob Bell? Apparently not. Well, that certainly was an upbeat meeting, so it makes sense that we didn't award the Blob Bell. All right, now we're going to announce the winners of the, starting with the table topics, and the best table talk speaker was Isabella. So. And the best evaluator was Greg.
Thank you. Steve voted several times.
And the best
You got my
speaker was Steve. Okay, any comments from anyone on the meeting? Kate?
I'm putting this under announcements, if that's okay. I gave a speech 2 weeks ago and talked to Greg in the parking lot, and he said you need to have some things to hand out. And I put them together, plus 2 other things. I drew in the entire audience. I got questions, I got conversation going. It went incredibly well.
Indian thing, right?
Yes, the Area Agency on Aging for the 21 Indian Tribes, and I just wanted to thank all of you for all your help with pulling that speech together. Thank you.
Greg, did you have a comment or?
Oh, I was gonna say, Isabella, if she was court interpreter, she can pronounce things and she has a facility for that. So, and I would encourage, Steve tried to back out on table topics because he didn't think he could pronounce it.
There's too many
And
letters.
Bo, was going, well, it's my word, but I really don't know how to pronounce it. And I'm thinking to myself, it's just practicing. It's just like Larry gave us the tongue twisters last week. Well, if you practice it, it kind of works. And you can get a lot better at these things if you just try a little bit. And Isabel, I will tell you, I was a court interpreter here for 5 years back when you were in grammar school. And so it was a fun assignment.
Any other comments or announcements of a general nature? Steve?
I left out a part of my speech that if I could have gone overtime and been eligible, I would have included. That was, as you're laying the boards up, if you want to pursue this, definitely have a level. Because you don't want to end up going crooked based on the boards, and then you put a TV there and your wall's like this. That's disaster.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
use a level as you're going up, because those boards are not straight.
Right. Good point.
Okay. Anybody have any outside speaking engagements coming up they'd like to share with the group?
Or recent.
Usually do past
Oh, is it past?
past speeches.
I mean, from the previous week?
Right.
Oh, okay. Anybody have any past speaking engagements? Okay, Bulletin Writer, do you have a thought for the week?
Ghost Rider.
Bulletin writer.
Oh, what does?
Yeah.
Bulletin writer. So thought.
No, I don't know what a bulletin writer is supposed to do, but a thought for the week.
Thought
Is there a thought for the week?
Thought for the week.
Thought for a week.
Go Cardinals.
Go.
Yeah, really.
Well, that's one, maybe we have an alternative.
Yes.
I've got one for the United States Congress. When your outgo exceeds your income, your overhead is gonna be your downfall.
I don't know if that'll fit in the space of my head.
That's good.
Did you have one too?
I was going to say on the tabletop scene, contemplate American exceptionalism.
Should we vote or just?
No, you can write them all up. Steve will edit it anyway.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got a video of everything, so I'm gonna put every word in there.
You can one that pick one you like.
I'm gonna adjourn the meeting a little bit early, but that's appropriate because we only had 2 speakers and so
Right.
things were right on time. And we're not meeting, I understand,
Next
until January.
Yeah, not till next year.
Yeah.
Next meeting
So
will be
see you next year.
January.
Yeah, Happy New Year's.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
All done.
Isabel, do you have a card?
I do.
Can you get one?
That was a fun meeting.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.